Why, hello. Good to see you again. I'm No02. Welcome, thank you for watching this video. An update. Yes, an update for Back 4 Blood. How very, very exciting for us. Now, it's not the new content. I know people are quite eager for the new content, but it's not here. There are some nice things in this update. Some really nice quality of life things. I think some writing on the wall, so to speak. Some things that we can glean, I think, a little bit from behind the scenes, and I'll talk about that a little bit when I get to the example that I like to point out. But before I dive into this update, two things. One, please check out the timestamps or whatever, Check out the timestamps, jump to where you want to see, skip all the babble. If you like hearing me endlessly gob about nonsense, then thank you. I appreciate it. I enjoy it too. Anyways, and the other thing is, we learned something very, very, very important with the December update when it came to Back 4 Blood. And that there's typos. How fitting that it says that there's typos. Little typos, no big deal. But in the December update, there was things not mentioned that had been changed, things that had been mentioned that were changed but didn't actually get changed, and just things here or there that did sort of matter and were sort of important to the overall gameplay. That, so to speak, got the ball dropped on because basically things weren't what they said or seemed. So I want to just preface this. This update is, 24 hours live, basically. And I've played a tiny bit. But I want to preface this with is that there's things in this update that are not mentioned. Things in this update that we're still figuring out, that we're still learning and discovering. In this update, there are potentially new bugs. So just keep that in mind. Take everything that I say here. I'm going to read the update. But just keep in mind that there are things not mentioned, things that aren't what they seem, and etc. So we'll learn over time, and for the most part, we'll just have to figure it out as we go. So just take this at face value, and understand that some things might be slightly different when we get there. New streamer mode, so you don't get DMCA'd when you play Barroom Blitz. That's about it. Also, at the end of the game, there's that song that's DMCA'able. You remember that button that says "Stay Together"? Or it used to be a button that says "Stay Together"? Or it works now. It's supposed to work now. Cool. Walker's ability rework. This is kind of a neat thing here. It's kind of a neat thing. His accuracy on precision kills removed. Walker, that was probably one of the stupidest abilities. It doesn't make any sense. Later on, I'm gonna make fun of the devs because they talk about how much they like it. I think it was like the worst ability in the game. It was very niche circumstances where you could maybe build around a deck around the idea of having that extra 20% accuracy. I've talked about it in the 100% accuracy deck videos that I've had. But other than that, it really just didn't matter. But Walker now got a way cooler ability added. Incoming is the name of it. Functions like marked for death, but lowers the target's outputting damage. So if we go to Walker here, this card reads, mutations that Walker pings are highlighted and deal 10% reduced damage. So just like how Marked for Death gives the entire team a 10% damage bonus, Marked for Death is going to give the entire team 10% damage resistance-ish, kind of, in theory, right? And he gives 10% damage, and he gives 10% team health. And now his card sort of makes sense in that he gives the team extra points of health, and he gives the team some damage reduction from incoming mutations. Kind of neat. Now he's sort of like the off-tank, right? The fighter class, where he provides the team with durability, but not quite as much as maybe Holly can acquire, but does it for the whole team. Kind of neat, right? So overall, a nice buff to Walker. Increase the limit of decks to 16, was 8. I can't imagine having more than 16 decks, but gonna make it easier for making videos and stuff, and it's nice. So 16 deck slots, that's kind of cool. Supply points after failing, that's nice. I do get it. You know, especially if you're slow playing a mission and then you lose, and it feels like all that time was wasted. All you earned was knowledge and that experience they had with those other people, and that doesn't always feel satisfying. They fixed some other issues. There's going to be a lot of things here that I'm going to be skipping over, right? We're getting into the juicy things, but all the little details of UI fixes and stuff like that, like, not a big deal. Not a big deal. This one though is a big deal for me. If you watched my like a Trouble at Hell's Bells uh, stream, fixed campaign objective items being dropped on use. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. There was a bug where so before you could kind of buffer your key inputs. So when you're boarding up the windows or putting shells into the field cannon, the way it worked on release for this game is that when you're running up to the window with a board in your hand, you can buffer the use key. You can hit E and hold it down as you were approaching the window, and as soon as you got into range of the window, you'd start bordering it up. In the December update, they made it so that when you, or I don't think they did it on purpose, or if it was a bug or not, notable bug fixes, is that when you hit E, it would just drop the board. So if you were running up to a window or to the field cannon and buffering the use command, you would just drop the item. And if you tried to board up the window or hit the use key around the time that you thought the range was roughly, like those things sort of lined up, you would start boarding up the window or start loading the field cannon and then drop the item. So it interrupted you actually putting up. It was very, very, very annoying. Some muted stuff. Players can now interrupt firing by reloading. I didn't know you couldn't before. I didn't know it was a thing. T5 grenade crates are now open by default. Open by default. Strangely enough, this isn't like under the body dump specifically. Leads me to believe that there might be T5 grenade crates in the future, but... So I've heard people say that this may or may not be working, that they've gotten to body dump and all the crates were closed. I've gotten the body dumped. I did some testing on recruit mode, just like in training, right? Just to jump, or on the solo campaign offline, just to jump the body dump. And the times that I did it, the 3 times that I did it, the crates were all open every time, which is actually really, really nice. This is a huge nerf to T5 or to the body dump, which ironically, body dump is like the easiest of all the finales. I think it's the easiest of all the finales, and now it's even easier. But just keep in mind, right? This is why I was prefacing this update, is that sometimes things may not be as they seem, or they might be bugged. So some people have been saying that this doesn't actually happen, but in my experience it has. So just keep that in mind. Shotgun ammo pickups from crates increased to 60 from 25, and rifle ammo updates increased by 20 points to 120 from 100. So when you pick up a thing of ammo, it's got more in it, essentially. And there's actually, strangely enough, a lot of ammo buffs in this, or a lot of things that are buffing your ammo. And we'll get there when we get there, I guess. Players are now able to hit the breaker weak spots with weapons. I thought they already could, so I don't know what they're talking about. Global difficulty damage increase no longer affect friendly fire damage. No one probably ever noticed or felt this, but I guess in theory, in Nightmare mode, there's a global damage increase to all of the mutations. I didn't know that damage increase affected our damage, or affected friendly fire damage. It affected how much damage the players take. I don't know exactly what the algorithm, what this works, but so shooting friends will be less effective. Quick play no longer queues players into finale maps. I think that's fine. If you're a giant who's worked hard to get to the finale, and then some random scrub pops in, he doesn't get to stand on your shoulders anymore, you know what I mean? General card updates. Okay, the juicy stuff. This is the juicy stuff here. The following changes make slow and steady combat more viable. Evasive action refractored to defensive maneuver. defensive maneuver. Right? Attacks over 15 damage, apply 25% damage resistance for 3 seconds. This is the card that used to give you movement speed when you took damage. When you took over 15 damage, you would get like a 25% movement speed buff, right? Useless card. No one ever used it. Here's a slightly different useless card, essentially. I think this card obviously works in some sort of tank build when it comes to dealing with mutations specifically, and specifically like a tall boy comes running up and you're a melee character and he smashes you. But then 25% damage resistance, is he really going to smash you again? Shouldn't you just kill it before he smashes you again? Anyways, we'll look over exactly what these cards look like in the game, and once we go over them. On your mark, little typo, it's not on your marks, it's on your mark. Instantly give 15% max ammo and 10% movement speed. There's a little bit of a clarity issue here. Plus 25% and 25% weapon swap speed for 30 seconds on Horde trigger no longer does what it did before. Essentially, this is a card that triggers on Horde. On Horde trigger, you get 15% maximum ammo restored, 10% movement speed while firing, reload speed, swap speed for 30 seconds. Kind of neat. Kind of neat to see cards that trigger off of Horde. It's a new mechanic, actually. Amped Up does the same exact thing. No longer gives temporary health when leaving the safe room. Now gives 25 temporary health anytime a Horde is triggered. We need to talk about these two cards just a little bit here, especially Amped Up. Let's quantify this. How many times is a Horde triggered during a mission? How many times? How many times? The answer is not important. The specifics is not important. The matter of it is, if you get through a mission and you trigger 0 Hordes, are you in need of health? Probably not. You're probably not in need of health. If you're getting through missions and not triggering any Hordes, and you're still taking damage, there's no card that fixes that. That's a player problem. I'm not saying that you do it or you guys are bad or anything like that, but just think about that. If you can get through an entire mission and trigger 0 Hordes, you're probably not in need of health. Probably not in need of that much health. If you're getting through a mission and triggering all kinds of Hordes, 3 Hordes? 4? 75 points of health? 100 points of health? For free? For things that just happen naturally in the game? What I'm trying to say here is that this card is bonkers good. Crazy good. Super good. And this card stacks, right? Again, right? Nothing. The devs are leaving us mysteries and enigmas that we have to unwrap. We don't know if any of this crap stacks. We just have to test it. But this card stacks. If all 4 people are running Amped Up, you get a plus 100 points of temporary health per Horde triggered. Doors, birds, snitches, when the ogre spawns, when you destroy a node on a nest. Health. Health, health, health. And it's a lot of health. It's a crap ton of health. And especially if you're moving quickly, moving with pace, playing in a optimal way, forcing your way through the mission like you should. There's a lot of health, and it's going to keep you going. It's going to keep you healthy. It's going to give you trauma resistance because you can't suffer trauma when you have temporary. When damage received is absorbed by temporary health, you don't take trauma. This is an incredible card. Now, I will say, and we'll talk about this more when we get to the. I'll just say it now. I don't know why I keep doing that. Cards that cards for ammo, cards for healing, things like that. Those support cards. Those cards become less valuable the better you play. Kind of an interesting concept, but healing cards, healing efficiency, you only use them unless you're hurt. The better you play, the less often you're hurt, the less hurt you are in total. Same thing here, right? The better you play, the less value you get out of these things, but it's a lot of health and it triggers almost all the time. And it's for the whole team, so it's already a net gain of 100 HP, right? No matter how we break Amped Up down, no matter how we break it down, from a net health point of view or personal point of health view, or how a health economy works in the game through attrition and things like that. The fact of the matter is, this is a crazy good card now. And then ammo. We don't care about this half. The movement speed, the reload speed, that's nice, quality of life or whatever. Swap speed, that's cool. Ammo, definitive. We get to keep it. If you have ammo problems, just run this card. Just run this card. This is it. This solves literally all of your ammo problems. If you're getting through a mission and triggering 0 hordes, you really shouldn't have ammo problems. If you're triggering hordes, it actually fixes your ammo problem. So there you go. Kind of neat. What I do really like about this idea is that we get to see a new mechanic. Cards that trigger off of horde events. Super cool. Makes me super duper excited for seeing future content, future cards. Well, I always say this all the time, especially about a lot of games that I really love. Games that I love that don't do super great. Black for Blood has a great foundation, an incredible foundation to build upon. More cards, more cleaners, more mutations, more maps, more content, new game modes, blah 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 blah. There is so much potential for new stuff here, and On Your Mark and Amped Up are little glimpses into what could be in the future. New mechanics, things that trigger off of hordes. Really, really cool to see. And now Shooting Gloves refactored into... So this is unchanged. This is Shooting Gloves originally, 25% swap speed. Now it gives recoil control and accuracy. The nice little buff to potential accuracy decks in the future. Front sight focus. Just gave 20% accuracy before. Now it gives weak spot damage and aim speed. Nice little buff to 100% accuracy decks and things like that. The other thing that I like that I see here is that the more little weird things that they do here, little this, little that, is going to make deck building more complicated. The more circumstances when a horde triggers, or this card gives this, and oh, this card gives this little thing, and all that makes deck building more complicated, and I think more interesting. The more cards we get, the more weird interactions we get. This, again, just sort of shows the foundation of how there can be a really interesting system here as far as deck building, and how players can solve problems with the tools that they're given. So, nice little buff to cards that... I mean, front sight focus was used if you're running some sort of crazy accuracy deck. Shooting Gloves literally never used, because there's cards that did the same thing but just better. But now you got something to think about here. Something that this card might fit into later on, as well as sort of like cold brew coffee, where like I started throwing cold brew coffee into all of my decks because it just did so much of everything that's always good no matter what. Shooting Gloves takes a step in that sort of direction, but for different things. So potentially supporting a different play style. Mom's Revive now fully heals target. What? Really, really good. Mom's ability is crazy good in Swarm mode, when you're trying to survive for as long as you can. In Campaign mode, it was pretty rare when you found yourself in a situation where you needed the super fast pickup. Normally when people are going down, there's zombies everywhere, there's swarming, Mom's pickup makes sense, but in those particular circumstances, if they're not about to die, it's usually just better to leave people down. Like, don't revive people in the middle of a horde, because they would stand up, they'd have like 20 points of health, they get beat to death again, and then they actually die. When you could have just left them down on the ground and had 300 points of health. This makes it more viable for Mom to revive in the middle of a horde. Why you would want to do that, I don't know. So this is a really nice buff to Mom in general. Doesn't really affect her when she revives people, but now it's just basically Mom gets one free heal. Like, Mom's passive is going to, for the... Well, they made changes to Doc, but Mom's heal is pretty much... Mom's passive is now on par with Doc's field bandages. They both heal now. Hoffman's ability now includes 1% chance to find offensive items on any kill, and team ammo is increased by 15%. Hoffman looks like this now. Yeah, exactly what we just read. So basically, Hoffman is the highwayman plus everything else. Wombo combo here. Super huge, awesome, great buff to Hoffman. Realistically, after playing a lot with Highwayman, this card basically means once or twice per mission, you'll get a free throwable. You'll get a free throwable once or twice per mission. Probably that will be probably pretty standard. If you get 0, that's probably a little bad luck, but it could happen. If you get 3 or more, insane luck. Really, really insane luck. Hoffman has always been a character that teams should be putting on point. Like, Hoffman should be the guy up front shooting all the zombies all the time, almost no matter what. But obviously that doesn't happen. People like to shoot their guns and shoot zombies, and they should get to do that as well, because that's fun. But nice little buff to Hoffman. Hoffman, I think, was probably one of the weaker characters just from a card point of view, though his extra grenade slot is really, really, really nice. But huge buff. If this triggers once in a mission, that's 100-ish copper worth of value. Huge, potentially huge, and like game changing. As far as, like, imagine like not having any more throwables, and then you get a kill. Hoffman's holding the door, something drops, you can run forward, and then the next mutation shows up, and you're ready to go again. Like, it can totally save runs. Admin reload no longer has a trade-off. The trade-off used to be the slower, or no, this used to be the loss of ammo capacity. It's weird that they buffed this card, because I thought this card was already getting used all the time. Like, I saw everyone running this card. All of the decks that wanted to do super crazy, high-octane damage ran Admin Reload. Like, Admin Reload was a card that was getting fit into a lot of decks, because it's such a nice quality of life. And it also allowed for, like, power swap, DPS, high movement decks or whatever. Well, it got buffed. It got even better now. So less ammo problems. Ammo for all added stats 1% team damage. Kind of nice, kind of a neat thing, but not really a big deal. Ammo pouch added 2.5% bullet damage to it. Ammo belt added reload speed to it. No longer has trade-off, which ammo belt used to be like minus 30% stamina efficiency or something like that. Grenade pouch added 25% swap speed, and then it does the same thing as before. This is really, really interesting. I'm kind of baffled that they buffed this card and then nerfed double grenade. I mean, nerfing double grenade pouch makes sense to me, but buffing that, like, this is already a great card. Like, but now a little bit of extra swap speed. Oh yeah, my money and grenade philosophy is buffed by this, right? But this is important. Double grenade pouch no longer reduces damage by 10%. Now slows movement by 5%. 5%. We get damage. Damage that we didn't really care about in most circumstances, because we're throwing a grenade anyways. It does a crap ton of damage. And it does, even with the 10% minus, it did more than enough to kill things or get things so close to death that you can just kill it anyways with your gun after that. But minus 5% move speed, that's going to really, really hurt. That's going to really hurt double grenade pouch. And I already said before many, many, many times, I thought double grenade pouch was the best card in the game. Hands down, the best card in the game. There's no other card in the game that gives you so much versatility, so much utility, into dealing with the thing in the game that kills us, tall boys. Well, it got nerfed. I have to play around with it more, but the 5% hurts. 5% I think hurts. I can feel it a lot. My philosophy has always been some sort of money card, double grenade pouch. Then you invest a little bit into movement speed. Usually 2 cards if you want to go minimalist. I think this is going to sort of make it now that you probably should have 3 cards for movement speed if you want to maintain that solo clutch capacity. And then you can do whatever. Do whatever else. Get your grenades, get your money going. get your movement speed going, your foundation is complete, and then you can do literally anything else. But kind of cool. Kind of cool to see this and that. I think this is a good nerf to a card that I think was hands down the best card in the game. A belt clip added U speed to quick slot item. Neat. Kind of cool. Utility belt clip. I know they're going for consistency here, but in no way is a quick slot as effective or as game impactful as double grenade pouches. So this basically make the minus 5% move speed, I think, makes utility belt clip a never pick. Never pick this card. There's never ever going to be a reason for you to be running around with 3 defibs or 3 toolkits. I know there's some hidden stuff right now going on with alarm doors, but this just isn't worth it. This just isn't worth it. When it comes to the quick slot items, toolkits, barbed wire, defibs, those are things that like basically anyone can carry. It doesn't really matter, right? Like those cards don't really benefit from other cards in your deck, right? Like, but if we're running double grenade pouch, and then I run bomb squad, I'm the guy who needs to throw the grenade, right? So me having extra slots makes sense because it's not convenient for everyone else to drop grenades on the ground in the middle of a fight. Things like that. Though there are ways to obviously do that and play around that idea. But with, who cares who's holding the defib? And if you're holding 3 defibs and you die, it's irrelevant, right? It's totally pointless. So this card, I think, gets hurt really, really, really bad. Here, there's a trade-off between having the extra grenades and the movement speed. There's an actual trade-off here. Here, it's just the benefit doesn't come close to the negative effect. Shoulder bag, increased support slot by 2. Sorry, there was a typo. Sorry for the confusion. I don't remember what their typo was. Where is shoulder bag? Oh yeah, shoulder bag does the same thing now. Minus 5% move speed. I think, again, it just makes sense, I think. Again, I'm not quite as impactful as the grenade. Double grenade pouch, but I think if you're going to be a support character or want those supplies, this is a good nerf, I think, for the most part. It hurts, though. It hurts. It hurts. They hate movement speed now. But shoulder bag and double grenade pouch were incredibly good cards. You can pretty much run them in literally any deck, and you would always get benefit from them. They would always be valuable no matter what. They superseded almost any other choice. So these 2 cards, shoulder bag and double grenade pouch, getting nerfed, I think makes sense. I think it makes sense. Oh, I see. It's down here. A mandatory PT. Is it a nerf or is it a buff? I don't really know. Mandatory PT does the same thing, except now it gives stamina or regen. Basically more user-friendly. It's fine. Hellfire, decreased movement speed from 3% from 5. That's fine. It's a little thing. Stamina. And when I mean stamina, this is the basic card that you get in mission, the little vanilla folders. Now it goes a flat stamina instead of 10%. I can only assume that this is a nerf, because percentages scale up over time if you get more whatever. I don't know how this works, what the algorithm was. Now it goes flat 10 instead of 10%. I don't really know what that means, but there you go. It's probably a nerf. Compound interest. The effect updated to the whole team. And then instead of 10% interest, it's only 5% interest. Rather than obligating the cleaner using this card to drop their copper for the team, we wanted the whole team to benefit from the card. So a little bit of a quality of life here thing where you don't have to communicate with your teammates now to, hey, drop all your money. Let me scoop it all up because I got compound interest. No fear that some random person... It's going to help quick play because you're not going to be afraid to drop your money now for a random person. Things like that. But let's just quantify this card. Compound interest had the potential to be bonkers insane, right? To go absolute. I've gotten to ends of campaigns where somebody was running compound interest, and we ran a bunch of hired guns and windfall, and we completed as many secondary objectives as we could. Went out of our way to do so. Gave them all our money, mission after mission. We started from the very, very start. We get to the end, we get to Rolling Thunder. We have purple everything, purple weapons, all the attachments. We have everything, full health. Everything's filled up. We're good to go. Bonus health, bonus stamina, bonus grenade slots. Since like from Bookworms onward, we bought both team upgrades no matter what, always, and a couple before even. And we ended with like 64,000 copper left over. Compound interest is a win more card. If you know what that means, you know what it means. But basically, by the time compound interest started like providing significant benefits that you can then start spending basically recklessly, by the time compound interest got to the point where you can just do whatever you want with your copper and get super powerful, you're already like half of the campaign in. A lot of things needed to be met. We needed to play multiple hired gun cards. All 4 of us were getting 8,000 copper per level for the first couple of levels because we would just farm it on purpose. Complete the secondary objectives for an extra 2,000 copper, plus what we picked up, plus I was running hazard pay, plus other people were running copper scav and blah blah blah. All that things. Under those particular circumstances, compound interest was insane. Does that change that concept here? Not at all. It works exactly the same, except you don't need to inconvenience your team by dropping your copper on the ground for everybody. It works more conveniently now. In fact, overall, this is actually a nerf, because in order now to get your compound interest going totally insane, shooting your money to the sky, you can buy the moon if you wanted to. It's actually going to take 5% longer now because it's actually a nerf to compound interest, a card that already was horrible, a card that already needed so many things to go right in order for it to work correctly, in order for it to actually provide benefit. Now things need to go even more correctly for even longer in order for your 5% to start making a difference that is felt. The reality of it is, if you want... Let me back up. It is neat to see that there is now another team effect card that can benefit your team, economy-wise, right? Right? But you would never pick this over Share the Wealth. You would never pick this over Share the Wealth. Share the Wealth is plus 100 copper per cleaner for the team, right? A net gain of 400 copper. In order to net gain 400 copper for your team would need to have 8,000 copper going into the next mission. A lot of things need to happen before your team gets to 8,000 copper unspent going into the next mission. A lot of things need to happen. A lot of things need to go right. 8,000 copper that you can get really far in just 8,000 copper. So the fact of the matter is, you would never choose this over Share the Wealth first. You would choose it second, and then once you're choosing it second, does it really matter? Like, the missions just aren't long enough. The campaigns aren't long enough for you to really, really get value out of this card. You need a minimum of 8,000 copper in order for this card to be better than Share the Wealth, and just not worth it. Just not worth it. Battle Lust now benefits from healing efficiency. That's kind of cool. So if you have 50% healing efficiency, then you'll heal for 3 points of health instead of 2. Assume 2 if you're playing Doc. Doc melee build incoming, right? Face Your Fears now triggers at 2.5 meters from instead of 2. People may not have known this or realized this. So Face Your Fears is when you get a kill within 2 meters, you get temporary health. All of the melee weapons, from the little hand axe, right, the little hand axe, to the fire axe, the baseball bat, the machete, all of those melee weapons say that their range is 2 meters. But in reality, the fire axe and the baseball bat had a range of about 2.5-ish meters. Its range was greater than 2 meters. And thus, When you had Face Your Fears on and you were swinging the bat or the fire axe, if you were hitting zombies at maximum range, Face Your Fears would not trigger. Now it will. Buff to melee decks, quality of life to melee decks. Barbed wire now properly highlights when you're using utility scavenger. Barbed wire would still highlight when you're using offensive scavenger. No longer the case. Simulants increased to 60 seconds from 30 seconds. No big deal. Optics Enthusiast no longer reduces stamina efficiency. Bonus to accuracy decks. Trigger Control. This is a card that I don't think... I forgot to look this up. What did Trigger Control do before? Wasn't it accuracy with assault rifles? Trigger Control adds accuracy on precision skills. This is what I'm talking about, like when it comes to like clarity and explanation from the devs or from these updates and how things are falling through the cracks. Doesn't this make added accuracy on precision kills? Doesn't this sound like that Trigger Control is unchanged? Other than that, they added a new effect to it, right? Like they added a new effect to it. They didn't. They erased whatever Trigger Control was before, and now it just does Walker's ability. Which I can't remember what Trigger Control was before. I think it was 20% accuracy while using an assault rifle or something like that. Well, it's just different now. Nerf, buff, doesn't matter. For the most part, sucky card. Wooden armor. Wooden armor. Here, we need to look at wooden armor too, because it's important. Trauma resistance reduced from 30% to 40%. Okay, a little nerf. But no longer increases acid damage. But notice here there's no mention about explosive damage. Right? Wooden armor used to say explosive damage, fire damage, and acid damage. Right? Explosive, acid, and fire. Where's wooden armor? It's just fire. It's just fire resistance now. It's not in the patch notes, unless I missed it. Unless I'm completely brain farting here, and they made this change back in the December update. Right? Did they make this change in the December update? I can't remember. But it's not mentioned here. So unless they removed explosive damage in the December update, which I can't remember, I'm probably embarrassing myself on the internet. It's not mentioned here in the patch notes. Regardless of that fact, wooden armor has the same issue that all of the other support cards have. The better you play, the less valuable this card is. The better you play, the less valuable this card is. Trauma resistance works great if you have some way to sustainably heal your health pool. Because not suffering trauma is fine, but you're still taking damage. So you're going to go from having a grayed out health bar, all traumaed out, to having a red health bar, a bar that's still devoid of health. So wooden armor, regardless of how good this card ever gets, regardless of how good body armor ever is, it's always part one of a 2-card setup. It's always part one of a 2-card setup, or one part of a multiple card setup, because you can't just have trauma resistance, you need some way to heal as well, because otherwise who cares if you don't have trauma? You're dead anyways because you've been taking damage. Right? You're dead anyways if you're taking damage. So this is all fine and dandy. Body armor, probably better than wooden armor, 20% versus 30%, who really cares? I'd much rather not get burned to death, but to each their own again, right? So these cards I think are fine. They're closer to viable now. They really weren't viable before. They take a step into the direction of being viable, but I think very easily you can just avoid getting these cards. Overwatch, distance increased to 15 meters from 10. This is the card that, just to remind everyone, right, when you get a kill from over 15 meters, grants 5 temporary health to teammates within 15 meters. It's that second 15 meters that got changed. It used to be within 10 meters of the target, so you shoot a sniper bullet at a zombie, everyone within 10 meters of that zombie would get health. Now it's 15. Right, now it's 15. Cool. I'm going to be coming out with a new video for healer support update, some new decks for it, and the philosophy and understanding and how to build a healer decks and things like that. Because, like I said, the better you are and the better your teammates are, the less valuable these cards become. How do we balance that in solo queue, things like that? But again, more buffs, reworks, and changes. Actually, some changes in here that I really, really like. Antibiotic ointment. Remember how I used to sing the praises of poultice? There was almost no reason at all to use any of the healing efficiency cards because poultice did the same thing but better. Now they're starting to give poultice a little bit of a run for its money here. There is some potential support strategies here that are more viable when using some of these other cards than poultice is. There's now actually a trade-off to not choosing poultice now. Kind of cool, kind of exciting. Healing efficiency increased to 25% from 20%. I haven't run the math yet, but I don't know how that competes with poultice still, but this is the big part. Now gives an additional 10% temporary health to targets anytime you heal with an item or ability. That's Doc's bandages and future things, or Mom's effect, potentially. I have heard little rumors that this might be bugged. It may not be working all the time. That it might only work once per mission. Something like that. So just keep your eyes open for that. But essentially, right, this gives benefit to the idea of using lots of little items, lots of pain pills, lots of bandages. This is like a spammy quantity over quality healing build, right? Because we get more benefit the more items we use over time. So we want bandages, reuse chance. We want support scavenger, quantity over time, you know? Healing efficiency increased to 50% from 40 with EMT bag. At 40%, EMT bag broke even with poultice, but at the time, EMT bag had a negative effect, and EMT bag didn't affect pain pills, and poultice turned pain pills into bandages. But now with an extra 10%, it does technically heal more than poultice would, and there's no negative effect. It's just a flat 50%. Meh. Kind of neat. This is really cool. People have been complaining about trauma for a long time. People feel like there's no options to deal with it. The devs are hearing you a little bit. There's now more tools to deal with trauma. Again, the better you play, the less of a problem trauma was at all, but here we go. Targets heal 3 trauma anytime a medical accessory is used. No longer gives healing efficiency. There's no longer a trade-off. Kind of neat. Again, right? We look at antibiotic ointment and now field surgeon. Spam. Bandages. I think bandages are getting a buff here. Bandages and pain pills. As well as support scavenger. Support scavenger. In fact, all of the scavenger cards, great. Those are the scavenger cards are the only competition right now for share the wealth, hazard pay, and money grubbers, right? Money grubbers, hazard pay, and share the wealth. Those are the 3 primary economy cards. Those are really good cards if you want some sort of economy going. But the scavenger cards, though, offensive scavenger, support scavenger, as well as the utility scavenger, great economy cards. The only competition to it. All the other scavenger cards, all of the other money cards, don't even come close to those. Basically, to those 6 cards, those 3 copper cards and those 3 scavenger cards. You know what I mean? But again, this benefit to lots of spammy stuff now. Kind of cool. Medical expert. Target heals 1 trauma anytime a medical accessory is used. 50% revive speed, and a team effect of 15% healing efficiency. And now that healing efficiency affects pain pills, and I think people have been talking about, there's a lot of testing to go on here. There's a lot of potential here for healing efficiency to help all kinds of things now. Battle Lust benefits from healing efficiency. So if you run this card and you have a melee character on your team, You're going to help net them more health over time and things like that. Really, really interesting stuff. All of these little new interactions, right, that we have to test and figure out, make the game more complicated. Make deck building more complicated. There's more cards, more effects to consider now that could be beneficial for different reasons, different decks, different playstyles. So really, really cool to see. Just again, great foundation for things to come. Nanny pack added the 15% trauma resist, increases support slot by 1, which is what it did before as well. So similar to the offensive slot, which gives weapon swap speed, and there's a nice little buff to the card, basically to compete with its counterpart, right? This was a shoulder bag for the 2 support slots, but now it gives minus 5% move speed. Kind of neat stuff here. Having deep pockets, universally good all the time. These cards, you can sometimes include them, sometimes leave them out. These are getting closer to must includes. Because if I believed that having double grenade pouches 100% always must include, the card that gives 1 less grenade is pretty dang close to a must include, and then it got buffed. Great. Fresh bandage returned to full health after trauma. Where's fresh bandage? At the start of each level, heal 15 trauma, then restore any missing health. Cool. If you're looking for like the lone wolf playstyle, fresh bandage, great card. I actually really liked fresh bandage after the December update. I thought it was more than enough. And like fresh bandage plus like safe room recovery and things like that was like a really good wombo combo for you to deal with all your trauma in the world, right? Like, again, the better you play, the less health and trauma is an issue. And I thought like fresh bandage is really all you need. If everyone on the team is decent, every player on your team can just run 1 fresh bandage. And then 1 player maybe runs safe room recovery, and that can be it. Your team can then just focus on other things and not have to worry about healing. Maybe I'll make a team composition video about that. Corruption cards. Toxic Spill. We're getting out of the juicy bits now. This is the corruption card that would eat your health away as you were in the level, but getting kills would give you temporary health. Well, they nerfed it, or I guess buffed it for the ridden. Anyways, a temporary health per kill reduced to 3 instead of 5. If you encounter anybody who would go, man, I hate Toxic Spill. I hate the toxic fog cards. The fog was annoying, but this is actually a benefit to the players. This is the card that you should always, 100% of the time, be happy to see. There's no card in the game. This is the only card in the game that's more powerful than double grenade pouch. You know what I mean? Getting kills gives you health with your gun, no matter the range. At all times, throwing a grenade, whatever. This is great. But them nerfing it, it's still going to be great. Great. Oh yeah, weapon updates. We turned many weapons, taking the following into consideration. We felt certain weapon qualities weren't scaling well enough, and others were scaling too quickly. Tuning needed to make into account for bug fix for weapon fire rates. They did something with weapon fire rates that they were being bugged. I don't know what that meant. Never felt any difference. I'm not going to go over all of these, but the general thing that's happening here is weapons are either getting a nerf to their weapon damage scaling per quality. So going from a gray to a green and from a green to a blue, that would always result in an increase in damage. Well, that increase in damage, as the rarity got better, that has been nerfed by a little bit. And it's pretty much the same for almost all of them. This like 2 or 1.5% or whatever. At the same time, some of them got buffed. So some weapons are getting nerfed damage-wise, as far as the weapon getting better over time, and some of them got buffed. Right? The other thing that happened is some weapons got accuracy reductions. The AK, the SCAR, and the Tech 9 got accuracy reductions. For those of you who use SMGs, this is nothing new. Especially with the ump, if you're aiming down sights and you shoot a bullet from long range with an ump, the bullet didn't always land where your crosshair was. Didn't always land where your red dot was, you know? It'd just be a little off. So you'd be like aiming at a zombie head for a headshot 20 meters away, and you'd be right in the center of the zombie head, and you'd shoot and you would miss. The AK and the SCAR now do the same thing. That's about it. The other thing they changed is that some weapons damage fall off is either being nerfed or buffed. Cool, which means that when you shoot something from further away, how much damage does it do? That depends on the damage fall off. It's all being rescaled. So, universal. So like every gun got looked at as far as, does it need a nerf as far as scaling up, or does it need a buff when it scales up in quality? Range fall off, blah 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 blah, and that's it. The other thing is Belgian reload time. Belgian shoots faster, pretty nice, pretty nice. The other one is the M16. It shoots faster now. Cool. I actually really like the M16. I even liked the M16 before they buffed it in December. I thought it was great. Now and then they buffed it in December, and I was like, sweet. And then they buffed it again here. Now it shoots even faster. I really like the M16. M1A has less recoil. The M24 got more damage. The other one is the M4. The M4 does more damage. The M4 was basically an SMG pretending to be an AR. Right? The M4 was a SMG pretending to be an AR. It still does SMG damage. It does now 11 instead of 10, which is SMG damage range. But now it has 30 bullets, which is similar to the Uzi. So M4 got nice buffs, but the M4 is still basically an SMG pretending to be an AR. The M9 burst also shoots faster, just like the M16. MP5 got a fire rate buff. Blah 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 blah. RPK got less accurate, right? Same thing as the AK and the SCAR. Reload speed increased, things like that. Tech 9. So, if you didn't know, now you know. The Tech 9 is the best secondary weapon in the game. By far, you could run the ammo stash in a Tech 9 and be fine, and never even need to use your primary weapon. You can kill hordes, you can mag dump mutations, have infinite ammo, and be fine, and have nothing wrong. And all would be right in the world, and have 100% mobility, and it would be great. Well, overall, they made the Tech 9 less accurate, right? It can be like a primary weapon. Reload speed increased, hip fire spread increased, spread add increased, I don't know, recoil yaw and pitch, yeehaw, increased, weapon damage scaling per quality, to get a little damage buff. Overall, Tech 9 is more inaccurate. It's more inaccurate. Ump and Uzi, blah blah blah. Uzi got damage increase, Ump got damage nerf. Spawning updates. Wandering specials now have a 12 to 18 second exit cooldown. In the December update, we learned that the devs behind the scenes have wandering specials. Oh my god, spawning. There was specials that spawn with the horde. Wandering specials that are like on the map in front of you, and then specials that spawn around you, right? When you're like dilly-dallying, taking your sweet time, every couple of minutes a mutation or two would spawn and attack you. Those are the three types of mutations that could spawn. I guess they could exit? I don't know what this means, but it's different now. Just remember that mutations are spawning and leaving. Anyways, bot updates. I haven't played around with this a whole bunch. This is a little vague. Bot positionings have been updated to prioritize player line of sight. What does that mean? As far as I can tell, bots try to never stand in front of you. As far as I can tell, bots are constantly trying to get out of your view. all the time. If you turn and look at the bots, they'll run and try to stand behind you. Kind of interesting, kind of neat. It's a potential new mechanic on how we can manipulate the bots. Kind of interesting for speedrunners, like actual speedrunners who are putting up times on speedrun.com, as well as solo queue players and things like that. But basically, the days of having a bot jump in front of you when you're on a minigun and things like that, it doesn't seem to happen anymore. So kind of nice. Nice little quality of life thing here. No big deal. Car alarms are no longer triggered by charred ridden. Yes, very, very nice. Charred ridden would trigger car alarms. You would get punished for it. It would call a horde. And if you had the secondary objective that said don't trigger any alarms, you would get blamed for it and instantly fail that objective. That no longer happens. But if we need to heal, we probably want to shoot that car alarm anyways, right? Running amped up. Reeker melee damage reduced to 8 from 15. I don't know. How often were you really getting punched by a Reeker? If you're getting punched by a Reeker, it should do 50 points of damage. I don't care. If you're getting punched by a Reeker, you've made mistakes. The Oaken can no longer spawn on this mission, blah blah blah. Little T5 thing. Oh, little things here. T5 grenade cases now spawn in more locations. I can't find them. I've played the body dump 50 plus times. I was running around it earlier today. I could not find T5 cases spawning in new places. Didn't notice them, couldn't find them. I don't know if that means that they'll move around more. I don't know what this means. But again, just the body dump, the easiest of all the finales, I thought, got easier. And as far as I can tell, all the crates have been open since I started playing it again. Swarm updates. I have been playing a little bit of Swarm. If you don't know this about Swarm, tall boys are broken. Tall boys are the strongest. If your team isn't running 2 tall boys, and I mean the tall boy, no bruisers, no crushers, 2 tall boys, that is meta. Hugely by a huge margin, tall boys are the meta. They nerfed tall boys by 25 points of health, and they reduced the radius of its attack, right? It has a little circle, and if anything's inside that circle when you're slamming down, it gets hurt. Radius is 20 smaller. 20 what? I don't know, but it's smaller now. Nice nerfs to the tall boy. Tall boy stun resistance now less effective. Remove the ramp up time for the vomit ability on the Wretch players. I don't really play Wretch that much. I mean, it's a nice little buff to the Wretch. Hawker projectile speed got reduced. Nerf to the Hawker. What we really care about, though, is just that the tall boy got nerfed a little bit. Does this change anything? Not really. The tall boy is still the strongest character in the game when it comes to Swarm mode. Two tall boys. If you want to be competitive, 2 tall boys. And your team should be upgrading the tall boys. Your entire team, all 4 players, should dump all of their money into the tall boy as quickly as possible. The only thing you don't need is, there's a couple of tall boy upgrades that you don't need, like the armor one. I think you get all of the tall boy upgrades except for the armor one. You just don't need it. The way that you can sprint jump with the tall boy and move so quickly, and the way that the tall boy's weak spot is, for the most part, not exposed to your prey, to your targets. You don't really need the armor. But 2 tall boys, and max them out as quickly as possible, and you're good to go. Supply points, new stuff, new sprays, no cool stuff like that. UI fixes, blah blah blah. Some bug fixes, some Fort Hope stuff. Card fixes. We're getting to the point here where I'm just going to talk about a couple of little things here and there. Fixed an issue where some player cards were being applied twice on level transitions. Fixed an issue where players would retain combat knives and other character abilities after taking over a bot and switching to a new character. Yes, please and thank you. I could not stand... Combat knife got a buff. It is better than it was before. Even if combat knife is just as good as punching, Why would you put a card in your deck that replaces a mechanic that's incredibly powerful with something else that's, at best, just as good? Don't run Combat Knife. Don't do it. Don't do it. Anyways, so I would get triggered. I would quick play and get stuck with Combat Knife for the entire campaign, or for the rest of the campaign, and I would hate it. Hate it, hate it. It would make me leave. I left a couple of times because I just couldn't stand it. Sorry, I've been getting congested. Doc's passive now affected by group therapy's healing efficiency. With all of the healing changes and buffs and reworks, there's so much testing that needs to be done on what works and doesn't work and things like that. Just keep in mind that Doc is gonna trigger and function and synergize with all kinds of random things now. Let's see here. There's some other stuff. Fix an issue where burn cards would persist after team wipe. Some of Doc's and Mom's abilities would not work after a team wipe and things like that. Blah, 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 blah. I have been hearing, this on the mention of burn cards, there's rumors right now, or as far as some people have been saying that you can play a burn card after wiping. Because before it was one burn card per player per mission. So if you played a burn card on a mission and then you wiped and you're starting that mission over again, you couldn't play a second burn card. There's some potential that might be happening. I don't know. I don't really play burn cards, so I just haven't noticed in the little time that I spent with this new patch. Upgrade per blah blah blah. Some like when a player would buy vendor upgrades and then they ended up leaving later on, you would lose those team upgrades. Like things here that I didn't know were happening, but they've been fixed, which is a nice bit of quality of life. Whoops. Whoops. Different project. I gotta look at my notes here real fast. Oh yes, it's so here we're moving on now. We need to find. Sorry that you guys can hear that. Where's the snitches thing? Where's the Really, you can't find bots? Where's the other bot thing? There was mention of bots aren't shooting snitches. Where's that at? There's some horde timer fixes as well here. All the little details of things here are all neat and stuff like that, but not really worthy of me going over. Second swing hitbox would match the first swing hitbox. Where is it? Why can't I find this crap? How embarrassing. Bots will not shoot at snitches. That's what I'm trying to say. I thought I read it somewhere, but now I can't see it. Now I can't find it. But bots will not shoot snitches unless the bots are in combat. And I was testing this on Grave Danger on Recruit, right? One issue before, if you're playing solo queue on Grave Danger, is that when you were trying to set things up, if a snitch wandered too close, the bots would just automatically kill it and trigger the hordes. Bots no longer do that. But also, if you're in any other mission and there's a snitch in your way, you would ping the snitch, crouch push the bot into the snitch, right? And let the bot kill the snitch for you. Bots don't do that. The bots will like stare at the snitch and then like run away from it and run backwards from it and run away and run away. Bots look like new players who've never seen a snitch before. So they won't shoot snitches now unless there's other zombies around. So in combat, the bots have to be in combat, and they won't laser beam the snitches like they did before. But I did find that if there's zombies like sort of running all over and around them, almost as if a horde has been triggered, the bots will like shoot a couple of zombies and then like shoot the snitch and then go back to shooting zombies and then switch over to the snitch again and shoot some zombies. There's a way that you can potentially manipulate the bots to still kill snitches for you, but it's much harder now. Much harder now. As soon as the snitch is triggered though and calls a horde, the bots will kill the snitch. So kind of neat though that that they did that with the bots. I'm just really upset that I can't find that. If you know where it is, maybe it was combat. Nope. Where did I read that? Where did I read that crap from? Can't find it. We're moving on. We're moving on. Oh, silver bullets got nerfed, but it's not in the patch notes. Silver bullets used to be 10% bullet damage. Now it's just 7.5 bullet damage. It's the same as large caliber now, but different side benefit. And the last thing is sleeper spawns. It's not mentioned anywhere in these patch notes, but sleepers are spawning in new places. How exciting! There's like one video of me somewhere on some random mission doing some random thing. I only play nightmare mode, but I will play recruit mode when I'm testing things, when I'm making videos, when I'm trying to do stuff for the YouTubes. And I think there's one random video where I'm trying to do something and a sleeper gets me. And I'm like, what in the world? I have never seen a sleeper there before. In the 500 hours that I have almost exclusively devoted to playing Nightmare mode, I have never seen a sleeper spawn there ever. The way that you beat sleepers is that you just remember where they are, because the audio cue of them snoring is not consistent. It doesn't always... We've all been there. We've all been there. We're running along. We don't hear anything. We hear half of a snore, and then we're pinned. Right? And you're like, isn't this thing supposed to be making all kinds of noise? Like, anyways, I found, though I never talked about it before, I was convinced that sleeper spawns in recruit mode were different in nightmare mode. I don't know how the sleeper algorithms work, how they got it all set it up, but I experienced new sleeper positions in recruit mode than I've ever seen in nightmare mode. And right now it seems like sleepers are spawning in new places in nightmare mode right now. Kind of exciting, kind of cool, kind of weird that it's not in the patch notes. I would love to see more variables, more variety on where sleepers can spawn, just to make it more interesting every time you play, because it was literally predictable where all the sleeper spawns were. You just got used to it. You literally could memorize it for almost literally every single level. So it would be nice if there was more variety in that. And then, I don't know if it's a bug or what's going on there, but for the moment at least, we're seeing some potentially new variety with the sleeper spawns. Kinda cool. Kinda cool. So, I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching this. I think overall, yeah, I want to give it the overall. There's some nice changes here. There are some changes here that show clearly that the devs are listening, that the devs are paying attention to those annoying bugs and problems, and they are working on them and fixing them. Like the charge-ridden, triggering car alarms and things like that. How annoying. Oh, there's one more thing. Super duper important. Alarmed doors. Alarmed doors. Common zombies are not breaking alarmed doors. Common zombies can still break down normal doors. Doors that are not alarmed can still be broken down by the zombie. If the door is alarmed, though, and the zombie's trying to break it down, it doesn't break it down. In fact, the zombie swings as if it's trying to, but then does no damage to the door. Doesn't do any damage to the door. Special ridden can still break down alarm doors. I don't know if it's a bug. It's not mentioned anywhere. In the patch notes, right? Not anywhere in the patch notes. Common zombies do not break alarm doors. Is it a bug? Is it intentional? We don't know. It's not in the patch notes. Ugh. Okay. My synopsis here. There are signs of life here, and that the devs are listening and paying attention, and they know what's going on, and they're fixing those very annoying problems like fire zombies and car doors, car alarms. They're buffing the cards that aren't getting used. They're nerfing some cards that are getting used too much, like double grenade pouch, the best card in the game. Now going to make you second guess it. Is it still the best card in the game? I don't know. 5% is a lot of movement speed. It hurts. Oh, it hurts. But it sort of makes you have to build your deck around compensating for this with 2 or 3 cards now. Kind of neat, right? So there's some nice life here. At the same time, there's changes like to wooden armor, where it's like these cards just aren't viable to begin with. I think overall this update is good. The fact that we need to have a fix for fire zombies not triggering alarm things and things like that. It's annoying. It happens. It would be nice if it didn't happen in the first place, but blah 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 blah. It goes to show that this is an incredibly complicated game. Many games out there are complicated. Super complicated. Lots of mechanics, lots of things going on. Guns shooting, and people's perspectives, and bots, and AI for zombies, and special, and campaigns, and mechanics, and boards that you board up a window with, and cards, and decks, and healing, and getting hurt, and trauma, and there's a lot of crap going on. So a lot of stuff is breaking. So hopefully things will continue to move in this sort of direction. I think this is a positive direction. And hopefully we get more of it in the future. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. And I'll see you in the future.